Imagine standing in the middle of a savanna more than 100,000 years ago and watching a leopard move through the tall grass 30 meters away. You don't have a word for leopard. You don't have a word for danger. You don't have a word for run. All you have is your body, your eyes, and half a second to make the entire group understand that everyone is about to die if they don't move right now. It sounds impossible, and yet this is exactly how our species survived for hundreds of thousands of years. Spoken language, the way we know it today, is an extremely recent part of our history. Most scientists estimate that fully structured speech emerged somewhere between 50,000 and 100,000 years ago. But the genus Homo has existed for more than 2 million years. That means something unsettling. For more than 90% of our existence as a species, we hunted, raised families, fought off predators, and raised children without exchanging a single word. And here's the part nobody expects. It didn't hold us back. It trained us. Now, here's the important part. This wordless communication wasn't just efficient, it evolved through selection, exactly like any other biological trait. Think of it as a chain. In every group, some individuals were better at reading the intentions of others, just from a gesture, a glance, the tension in someone's shoulders. Those individuals coordinated hunts with more precision. More precise hunts meant more food, fewer injuries, more children surviving into adulthood. And those children grew up watching their parents, absorbing that same sensitivity to gesture and expression. Generation after generation, this ability to read other people without sound got reinforced until it became structurally wired into the human brain itself. Today, we know there's an entire neural system called mirror neurons that fires both when we make a gesture and when we watch someone else make that same gesture. That didn't come out of nowhere. It's a direct result of hundreds of thousands of years in which correctly reading another person's body was, literally, a matter of life and death. Think about how this actually plays out. A hunter points a finger slightly to the left. Another narrows his eyes and slows his pace. A third crouches down a few centimeters, almost imperceptibly. None of these actions need translation. The human body, even without a single word, already carries its own vocabulary. A vocabulary that had been refined for millions of years before any sound ever became language. This kind of communication didn't start with humans. It's far older than that. Primates like chimpanzees and bonobos use dozens of distinct, intentional gestures to communicate with each other, many of them recognizable across different groups. Research with Kanzi, a bonobo who learned to communicate with researchers through symbols, revealed something remarkable. Even animals without the capacity for speech can build complex forms of information exchange, as long as they have shared attention, meaning the ability for two individuals to look at the same thing and know that the other one is looking too. And it's exactly that shared attention that seems to have been the real key to human survival before speech. It wasn't sound that saved lives, it was synchrony. There's direct physical evidence of this, buried for tens of thousands of years. In 1983, archaeologists found in the Kabera cave in Israel the nearly complete skeleton of a Neanderthal, dated to roughly 60,000 years ago. And inside that skeleton was something extremely rare to survive, an intact hyoid bone, the small structure in the throat that supports the muscles involved in producing sound. Its shape was strikingly similar to that of a modern human. This suggests that, physically, some of our closest relatives already had the structure needed to produce complex sounds far earlier than anyone imagined. The body was ready. The question scientists are still trying to answer is, was the brain ready too? Because having the right throat isn't enough. You also need the neural architecture to turn sound into symbol and symbol into shared meaning. And this is where one of the most famous discoveries in modern genetics comes in, the FOXP2 gene. Researchers identified this gene while studying a British family known as the KE family, in which multiple generations showed severe speech and language difficulties linked to a specific mutation in that gene. This doesn't mean there's a single, isolated language gene that would be oversimplifying things, but it does show that the ability to speak depends on an extremely precise piece of biological engineering, built over millions of years, gene by gene, generation by generation. While that engineering was still being assembled, humans needed another way to survive, and they survived remarkably well. Think about a young child today, before they've even learned their first word. They already point at what they want. They already raise their arms to be picked up. They already understand when someone is angry just from the look on their face. That pre-verbal stage isn't a flaw in human development, it's a direct echo of our evolutionary history. Every human baby relives, in just a few months, a compressed version of hundreds of thousands of years of wordless communication. And this silent communication wasn't just useful for hunting, it also built bonds. A prolonged gaze between a mother and her child, even without a single sound, already activates the same brain regions tied to trust and attachment that speech would later reinforce. Touch, the shared rhythm of walking side by side, the simple act of mirroring someone else's gesture, all of this created something humans desperately needed to survive as a group. Predictability, knowing what the other person was about to do before they did it. And that same synchrony helps explain something even bigger: how human groups managed to spread across entire continents long before they shared any common language. A gesture of fear, a signal of calm, a posture of surrender, these are far more similar across different cultures than any word could ever be. When one group of humans encountered another unfamiliar group, arriving from thousands of kilometers away, with completely different habits and sounds, they could still, within a few minutes, understand whether that encounter meant danger or truce. This universal layer of communication may be exactly what allowed entire populations to cross hostile territories, move through unfamiliar landscapes, and gradually settle across nearly the entire planet, long before any word existed to describe the journey. But there was a real cost to all of this, and it's important not to romanticize this stage. This silent language depended entirely on two things: light and sight, and that came with a steep price. As soon as darkness fell, or when fog settled over the camp, that entire vocabulary of gestures, glances, and expressions simply vanished. At night, exactly when predators hunted most, humans became almost mute to one another. And there was an even crueler cost. Anyone who lost their eyesight through injury, illness, or old age didn't just lose the ability to see danger coming. They lost access to their group's entire language. A blind elder, a hunter wounded in the eyes, a child born with vision problems, was, in practice, cut off from the very communication system that kept everyone alive. It wasn't just an inconvenient limitation. For some, it was a sentence of silent exclusion, in the most literal sense of the word. And it's exactly that fragility which, once overcome by speech, changed everything. Words didn't need light. They didn't need anyone to be looking. Speech made it possible to talk about the past, plan for the future, and pass on knowledge to someone who was never even there, even in total darkness. It was the moment a single human's experience could, for the first time, travel through time and reach minds it would never have personally known. But here's the most beautiful detail in all of this. We never left the old system behind. It wasn't replaced, it was inherited. When you cross your arms without realizing it during an uncomfortable conversation, that's the same system. When you know, just from a look, that something's wrong with someone you love, before they've said a single word, that's the same system. When a baby cries in a certain way and you already know if it's hunger or sleep, with no dictionary involved, that's the exact same system that guided hunters across savannas 100,000 years ago, passing on vital information in absolute silence. Speech is recent. The body is ancient. And somehow, even today, most of what you communicate every day never comes out of your mouth. The next time someone understands exactly how you're feeling before you say a single word, remember, that's not luck and it's not coincidence. It's a language far older than any word, still alive inside you. Tell me down below, when was the last time you understood someone without them saying a word?